Meeting to order of the Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission, January 25 meetings. Rise for the pledge. Doug, will you start us off, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jill, are we done with the disclaimer online? Yes, thank you, ma'am. All right, roll call, please.
Nathan Viss.
Here.
Eric Burnham.
Here.
Doug Spencer.
Here.
Julie Kovach. Here. Randy Niemeyer. Tracy Haskell.
Here.
Brian Smith is absent. Robert Carnahan.
Here.
Rick Eberly.
Here.
Rick.
There you go.
Here, Jill.
Gotcha. We can hear you now.
Our bad.
David Austin.
Present.
Jennifer Sandberg.
Present.
And I am present.
All right, before we begin with our oaths of office, a warm welcome to Tracy Haskell, representing the Hanover School District, our new liaison. So I look forward to getting to know you over the next year. Welcome and congrats on your election.
Thank you.
Want to share just briefly about yourself?
I graduated from Hanover myself. I grew up in Cedar Lake. We moved in 06 back to Cedar Lake from Blue Island. We raised 4 kids. All 4 just graduated in the last few years from Hanover. Just became a grandma for the first time.
Congrats.
And I worked at Hanover for 10 years. So kind of missed a little bit and want to continue being there for the kids and the community. So
Very good. Well, I think as folks on here in the RDC can attest to, I think we've been cultivating a very good relationship with Mary and your board over at Hanover in the past several years. We look forward to working with you here moving forward.
thank you.
All right. For the record, Mr. Niemeyer's here.
Apologize for my tardiness.
Apology accepted. Ms. Sandberg, I see we don't have the junior treasurers here this evening.
No, not this evening, never know with the snow.
All right. Understood. We'll welcome them back in February. If you want to come forward and administer the oaths of office, please. Tell us what to do.
I'll stand in front of you guys if all of you wish to rise. And then everybody's going to raise their right hand. And y'all can repeat after me.
I,
Eric
Kovach.
Do solemnly swear
do
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the ordinances of the Town of Cedar Lake,
and the ordinances of the Town of Cedar Lake,
and I will faithfully,
and I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and honestly discharge
and honestly discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a member of the Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission,
as a member of the Cedar Lake Redevelopment Commission,
according to the law
according to the law,
and to the best of my skills and ability.
and to the best of my skills and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. It's kind of setting your marital vows. You don't want to screw up in the middle of them.
I think you got it down by now.
It's been like 8 years.
Pretty good job.
Thank you.
That she even had to think about that, Nathan, is a problem.
What's that?
That she even had to think about that is a problem.
You just don't want to screw it up.
Oh, just saying.
Sarah. All right. Thank you for distributing those. Thank you, ma'am. All right, next is we need nomination of offices. First is president. Entertain motions for the office of president for the RDC for 2021.
I'll make motions for nominate for president for Nathan Viss.
All right, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Second.
All right, other nominations? Hearing none, entertain a motion to close nominations.
I'll make a motion to close the nomination, cast unanimous ballot for Nathan Viss.
Is there support for that motion?
I'll second it.
All right, so we need to do a voice vote. Sarah, when ready.
Roll call.
Can you remind me who made the motion and the second?
I did.
Mr. Burnham made the motion.
Okay.
Jolie made the second.
And I made a motion to cast the unanimous ballot.
And that was supported by Jolie.
Thank you. Okay. Julie Kovach.
Yes.
Doug Spencer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
I'll abstain. Okay, Thank you.
You
I
can vote for
appreciate-
yourself, Nathan.
What's that?
You can vote for yourself.
It's okay, but I appreciate that from everyone. It has been a good run to date. Looking forward to 2021. Next, we'll entertain a motion for vice president for 2021.
I'll make a motion for Eric Burnham.
I'll second that.
I'll entertain a motion to close nominations and cast unanimous ballot.
Make that so moved.
For support.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Julie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your willingness to serve. All right, we'll move on to secretary. That is the last position that we are required to have by law.
Eric. That's fine.
Entertain a motion to appoint a secretary.
I'll make a motion to nominate Doug Spencer.
And I will second it.
Entertain a motion to cast unanimous ballot, close nominations.
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Julie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. All right. Thank you all. Next, we have a presentation of Explore Everyday Community Recognition. Sarah, do we have Herios?
We do not. Mr. Tomas James asked that in light of the bad weather, if he could please be deferred to February's meeting.
Okay, I apologize. I think that was an email earlier in the afternoon, if I recall correctly. All right.
Do you make a motion to defer until?
Yeah, just make a motion to table until February.
I'll make a motion to table Herios till
February, for support.
Second.
All right, that's tabled. We'll move into our consent agenda. We have 3 items on there. Approval of December 21, 2020 meeting minutes. Claims Fund 404 in the amount of $25 and Fund 804 in the amount of $64,107.25. The motion,
I'll make a motion to approve.
second.
Second.
Jill, you've had opportunity and Mr. Everly to review those invoices.
I have not.
Okay. Rick, have you had opportunity to review them?
No, Nathan, I had not had a chance to review them either, sorry.
I have reviewed them. They appear to be in good order. I think there's 2 substantial ones coming out of Fund 804. One of them was from Barnes and Thornburg Legal Services for $26,626. Another to Luxury Living LLC facade improvement reimbursement for $25,000, which comport kind of the majority of those charges. I did have opportunity to speak with Mr. Austin on Barnes and Thornburg, and I've been assured that the legal services rendered are commensurate with the charges that they have remitted. That $26,626 was in reference to work that they provided over about 5 months, if not a bit longer, as to the bond matters involving the bankruptcy with Stratton Bentil. Accurate date? Correct. Any further questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Julie Kovach,
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. All right, new business. We've got Explore Everyday Community Recognition nomination as we have started since last July. What is the pleasure of the commission? Do we wish to put someone else up, or do we want to wait till we've had opportunity to meet with the folks from Herios? What is the pleasure of the commission? And Tracy, just so that you are aware, hold on here a second. One of the things we started last July was recognition of either new or existing businesses here in town. It kind of started with the implementation of the Cedar Lake Farmers Market, the recognition that there's a lot of folks in town that are investing a lot of time and energies into it. So one of the ways we try to get back is to highlight that business, albeit briefly, to say thank you to those businesses. So that's the premise behind our Explore Everyday Community Recognition. With that said, what's the pleasure of the commission? Do we want to wait a month?
Yeah, I need to ask a question. Bob, did we ever do a recognitions for docs? I know you spoke about it.
No.
Okay, and because you spoke about it in the discussion, I definitely went and visited it a couple times. And it's a world of change there. You know, and you know, the restaurant has really changed compared to what it was. And I spoke with the owner and then took a little tour and what have you. and 8 there a couple times. And I'd like to recognize them because they made a nice improvement there.
A substantial investment in the interior.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Is there support for that motion?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
So in February, we'll just do both at the
Both,
one
maybe both,
meeting?
Right.
Okay.
Maybe they'll bring us dinner.
There's 2 restaurants. I think we're kind of trying to give a hint here. Huh?
I could add that to the cover letter. Provided.
Yeah, lemon rice soup from Harry-O's and then,
Yeah.
yeah. That's all, that lemon rice soup is legendary.
All right, very good. Roll call, please, on that.
Julie Kovach.
Yes.
Doug Spencer.
Yes.
Randy Neiman.
Yes.
Eric Burnham.
Yes.
Nathan Vist.
Yes. All right. Thank you for that, sir. Next, we've got 3 new applications with the facade grant 2021. First on the agenda, first to get it in for the new year is Leo's. Justin, come on forward, sir. Welcome out on this fine wintry evening.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for having me back.
You bet. And before we commence, we appreciate your note of thanks that you remitted last month. And the exterior looks phenomenal. So thank you for that initial investment that you guys have made us appreciate. It looks great.
Yeah, the doors look good. And welcome to Tracy. She's going to be a great addition here for the liaison for Hanover. She's a wonderful lady, so.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Floor is yours, sir.
All right, so I'm back we're finishing off the front LED signboard. We got everything up and running. The sign should be up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I have a total bill of $40,333.39, which includes $35,873 for the front sign. Also includes a bill from Hin & Sons for their quality work on the electric, and Board Corp for the piping for the electric to go through for $2,500.
Okay. Questions from the commission? Pleasure of the commission.
What are we looking to do here with this right now? We approved a request last year for this grant, right? How much was the total? I can't remember offhand.
It was for the door. It wasn't for a sign.
Just the
correct?
door?
Yeah.
That's
You
right.
guys
You
ran-
were,
it ran
this
out of
is
funding
me
for the
coming
door.
back. for
Yeah,
the
you ran
sign.
out of funding in
Gotcha.
2020, so I was doing it in
Actually, if you
2021.
look down on the reimbursement request,
It's
it was $6,743.50 that he was granted.
Gotcha.
And that was for the door only,
That
correct?
was for the door only, correct?
So a reminder to the commission, we have, I think in a 1-year period is 25,000 and then over a 5-year period is 30,000. And Mr. Gobert is requesting this evening is a sum of $18,300.
That is correct.
Hold on while I do some math here.
Get out your ciphering machine there.
Not my abacus.
Yes, sir. Start moving those beads back and forth.
Randy, what is the traditional ratio that we've been given?
We've been doing 20% has been our MO last year. And, obviously we used up all of our funding, so that went pretty successful. I mean, it's not saying that we couldn't change this year and do less projects at a higher ratio. I would say that any project that we would grant more money to at a higher percentage would need to be ones that are prepared, like Mr. Covert. We've had some applicants come in and basically bouncing ideas off of us, but he has actually done the homework and has a prepared project with a scope of work. And I mean, if he was to come in front of the building department with something like this, it's ready, it's ready to go. So I'd say anything that we do as we grant more money needs to be definitely focused on how prepared the applicant is to actually have a project that they're ready to execute.
The permit's done. I was at the zoning meeting last
Yeah, there
Thursday.
you
Got
go.
approved for that.
You're on the game,
Yeah,
Justin. You're not
Thank you.
playing around.
no,
I like that.
I brought my wife too this week to make sure that I'm.
He means business.
You brought your wife to make sure that we stayed in line. Very, very well
I
done.
could tell by her, isn't she the one that filled out all the paperwork?
There you
I
go.
call that. Yeah.
Yes,
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
It's all her, not me.
So is it-
So if we were to do 20%, that amount would be $8,066.68. So to Mr. Niemeyer's point, last year, 20% was roughly the number that we had settled on.
Yeah, we were all kind of learning and growing with it and trying to make sure that we had the right approach to things. And I think the things I learned anyways was we had some applicants that came and they were like you, ready, and some that were tiptoeing. So I'm hoping this year we focus our grants on folks that are ready to rock and roll, get projects done, because we had a number of projects that last year we granted money to and we didn't spend it
Right,
because they didn't get anything going.
right.
And I don't want to see that again this year. We gotta have folks that are ready to move.
We probably wouldn't have even had to have deferred his request.
Right, we wouldn't have had to defer it
Yeah,
had we known that so many of our applicants weren't even gonna kick dirt.
yep.
I still would like to get out to, as many people too, that are legitimately ready to.
But what we saw last year was only about half of them were legitimately ready.
Which was new for us. That was the first time we ever done it.
So given that, if you have an applicant like Justin, who's already utilized his first grant, and they've gone through the zoning process of the variance for the sign and they got the permits. I mean, I'm pretty amenable to looking at bumping that up a little bit to kind of reward people who come in here with a plan and ready to execute it. And we know that he's gonna get it done and it's going to immediately have a value-added impact on our community. That's the point of the program.
Absolutely. There you go.
We'll be
is to bump
grateful
up that
for,
net AV.
Okay, I went to
grateful for
25.
anything you guys agree on.
This is 20. This is 30.
What's our cap for one person?
25,000 in 1 year.
So last
So this
year
is start over.
he started fresh.
No, it's a 1 year cycle.
Yeah, he's
So what did he have?
Well, it's a
last-
1 year
So 1 year.
aggregate.
Yeah,
12 months?
Yeah, 12
yeah.
months.
So what,
Gotcha.
I'm sorry, what was it? How much was the door again?
He was granted that money in October.
And how much was this for?
6,700.
6,700?
Yeah.
Justin did his homework and took it right to 25. It's a smart guy right there.
Which is roughly 45%. So if we were to do 30%, would be 12,101.82, 20% would be 8,066.68. What is the pleasure of the commission here?
I'd be willing to go, I'd make a motion on the 30% on this one.
Is that a motion, Mr. Niemeyer?
Yes.
I'll agree with him, second that one.
There's a second?
Yeah.
For discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Randy, will you distinguish your motion for the difference so that our record is clearly reflective of the preparation and the dialogue the commission's had about readiness?
All right, so the reason for the increase in percentage from what we had been traditionally doing last year is based upon a person who's ready to execute the project. So it's taking the money generated by the TIF district, which is taxpayer money, reinvesting it into the TIF district to add value to businesses, which actually increases tax collection to the community and adds value to other adjacent properties. So that is the reason that I've made the motion for the increase in percentage of 10% from our normal amount, because Mr. Govert is prepared and ready to move on this project and we'll have it done. And what's your time frame?
Sign guy says 2 to 3 weeks.
There you go.
So this is case by case, correct?
Mhm.
Just reiterating that it can be a case by case. It's not that we're shifting into a new year and upping it to 30%. This is in this particular case where we're seeing the efficiency of the work and.
That's why I made that motion, Jolie.
It needs to be distinguished because it does not follow the strict parameters of your program.
Yeah, there's no strict parameters that we have.
We don't have.
We just generally last year we decided
Yeah, it
20%. but
was-
there no
They're
we're-
restrict-
established
Yeah,
by custom.
I'm just
Yeah, right.
thinking for
Yeah,
future. I want to be sure that if someone misunderstood and thought
There's-
they would automatically get 30% if they listened to these minutes or something,
There's-
I wanted to clarify.
Right. There's no favoritism here because,
Right.
I may shop there for certain things. This has everything to do with the fact that Mr. Govert was ready on his first project. He's ready again. And I think we need to, going forward in this program, the people that aren't ready probably need to be turned away until they are, and the folks that are need to be given some consideration because they're going to immediately add value to the TIF district.
And I think you only agreed on 22% last year because that was all that was left in the till, roughly.
Right. Yeah, because you were prepared last year and I made some of those same comments.
Right.
So it's pretty consistent with my motion.
Do you have a dollar amount and how much that will be?
So 30%, Randy?
30% of the project.
So for the record, Sarah, that's $12,101.82. I guess I should clarify, Mr. Spencer, with the clarification that Mr. Niemeyer added to his motion, do you still wish to offer a support a second?
I do.
It was a very verbose clarification, but that's normal for me, so.
We're going to trust Sarah to put it down in layman's terms.
Will do.
All right, any further discussion? If none, we'll call for a roll call.
Julie Kovach.
Yes.
Doug Spencer.
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham.
Yes.
Nathan Biss.
Yes. Mr. Govert and Bride, congratulations.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm next.
Appreciate community.
Appreciate what you, appreciate you being so prepared and taking action.
All right, next on the agenda this evening, Sarah, if I recall, it's Mr. Perfetti on 13115 Wicker Avenue, who's appearing via Zoom.
He is.
Sean, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for your time. What you see in front of you is a proposal to update the exterior signage at 13115 Wicker, known as the Great Oak Center. There's a picture of
I'm
the,
gonna cut you off for just a second. So in your packet was what he originally had. That would be your first proposal that he sent a few months ago. The loose packet that's got the 13115 Wicker Avenue that's loose next to you is what was submitted today with updated quote numbers.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Sean, go ahead.
no, it's okay. Thanks for clarifying. I appreciate that. Yeah, we initially put a package together late last year, but then understood that the program was, I guess, was deferred until 2021. So just a couple slides to show some particulars on the interest for this update. One picture there, the existing sign. It does need some work specifically around the electrical and the lighting. Frankly, it does not light up today. And the sign gets a little bit drowned out from a new LED sign that's right next door. The cost to improve or retrofit that sign is about 50% of the cost of new. So therefore, I'm pursuing a new sign. As well as pursuing a new sign, the second graphic there on the right side, I'd like to relocate the location of the sign. The two red boxes there that are kind of penciled in, there's one on the north side is the picture of the sign that you see on the left. The red box down on the southern location was kind of an old sign that just primarily had landscaping and lighting. That sign has since been removed. The green box in the center is the ideal location, kind of in the center of the building. We'd like to highlight the address of the location. And I've got 2 quotes for a new sign and then 2 quotes for some electrical work as well. That third slide there then just gives you some indication of what the base or the foundation could look like. You can go with kind of cultured stone or like a fabricated stone. And then the picture on the drawing on the right is my preferred vendor, if you will. And there that you can see they added the address on the left-hand side of the sign of 13115. That's probably the biggest feedback we're getting from tenants is it would be good if the address was very visible. That address will be lit up as well. So there'll be LED lighting in that small box. I think the total request is just short of $16,000, $15,991 when you look at the quote from Steinler Signs as well as the electrical work that's needed.
Questions from the commission? Sean, what's your anticipated start date that you're looking at for this project?
The sign group will need about 2 months to build the sign, and then that following month it could be installed. So say about 10 to 12 weeks, it could be installed.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
have you spoke with our building department at all about this sign?
The sign vendor has, they're aware of the required and the needed permits, as well as the zoning on the size of the sign. So that's well known.
Has there been anything applied for as far as to get on the agenda for the Board of Zoning Appeals for the variance?
No, not yet.
Does it need a variance?
Yeah.
No, as long as we stay under 60 square feet, I understand we do not need a variance.
And you're gonna, are you staying underneath it or exceeding it?
No, we're going to right at it. We'll be right at 60 square feet.
So there's been no building permit or sign permit applied for yet?
We've not applied. No, sir. We'd be happy to do that tomorrow, as quickly as tomorrow, if that helps.
Any other questions from the commission? Dave, a question for you. If it's replaced completely, is there a question or concern as to the location of the existing sign, safety? Since we're not modifying that, we're just replacing it entirely.
No,
Is that a building department concern?
it would be a building department.
They would address the setbacks on the review, right?
On the permit application.
I-
But generally speaking, it wouldn't.
I would make a motion on this one to defer it until Mr. Perfetti has gotten his applications done and some approvals from the building department. That way we have an action item that's ready to fund. I think it's a good request. It's definitely a needed improvement in that plaza. I just want us to focus more on prepared projects this year because as we have in front of us today, we've got a few of them yet from last year that are still sitting there. So it's better if we move forward with some sort of precedent this year where we're acting on prepared projects.
Mr. President,
Yep,
you know,
go ahead.
that brings up an awfully good point for agenda establishment and application for each at staff level and how the agenda is prepared, ultimately checked off by you, Nathan. Readiness could be assessed or at least discussed for inclusion on your agendas. In other words, staff could know from the dialogue they're having with the applicants as they're putting together the agendas and information, just where it stands. Is it conceptual at this point, or are they moved into permit application process or stages, or are they getting the approvals elsewhere within town government they need to get?
So one question I have of that front is it a possibility that some of these businesses are withholding application for a building permit pending understanding what support they might be receiving?
That's possible. And as I
So
hear
I-
the dialogue, it sounds like refinement of our processes will yield more efficient activity here, consistent with policy that you're developing.
Because I think there's two ways to skin the cat. There's one is demanding all that work be done. My concern is a business not knowing yet as to whether or not what support they're going to get. I think on the back end, to alleviate Mr. Niemeyer's concern, perhaps a requirement that they apply for a building permit and or engage in the work within a certain time period is also a way to hasten the action to make sure it happens.
There's some sort of parameters there. And I'm not knocking on any of the applicants from last year. I know there's circumstances last year that are beyond some control, but I think some come in here kind of fishing. And I really don't think it's good to be fishing with taxpayer money. Folks, the commercial properties within the TIF district are paying those taxes. So I think it's necessary for us to make sure that there are some parameters to this that, hey, come to the table prepared and ready to take action. And we're ready to support projects that are like that. So I think that either one of those suggestions, Nathan, lend to that result or lead to that result.
So there's a motion?
I made a motion to defer.
And I'm gonna second.
Okay, there's support for that. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Jolie Kovach. Yes. Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer.
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
All right, Sean, I think the recommendation here is to go to the building department, as you've indicated you're willing to do. Submit this as a building application. Communicate back with, if you can, both Sarah and myself. Sarah, how many more days are you going to be around? Okay, so submit it to,
He can submit it to me. I can still check.
okay,
my
she'll
email.
forward it on to the appropriate person so that we can get you back onto the agenda in February.
Yes, she's going very far.
Yeah, I'm not going too far.
So
That sound good, sir?
Yeah, that's fine. I appreciate your consideration. Is that a requirement then, moving forward, kind of that sequence of events? You want the application completed first
I
before
don't
it come in front of the commission?
Yeah, I don't think we've codified that, but maybe that's something that we need to look at as adding to our process is some sort of parameters as it relates to timeline and or application of certain things. It shows kind of a commitment to the project. That's my opinion. And Nathan, obviously, this is something the commission would have to consider in updating our process. But we haven't done that. To answer your question, Mr. Perfetti, that is not a policy initiative yet. This is only a motion to defer.
maybe a checklist of things because it is.
If that's something that you guys request as a board, then that is definitely something that I can put into place on my end, because I have the list of what all they need before they come, and Justin can vouch for me with this one. If he didn't have it, I told him he needed to get it to me. So if you tell me that they need a building permit at least applied for, then I'll make sure that that occurs on this end before you even see this application.
And there's fees involved with the application. So in that respect, if someone goes and applies and they're basing their decision on the project on getting assistance from the Redevelopment Commission, then they're going to be out the money for those fees, for going and getting those applications. So maybe somewhere along the line, there's other layers that we can put into that checklist that is going to also see that commitment, because I see both sides of things. I see the people who came prepared last year and who did not. And so, but we also want, this has been a really great thing, especially with signage on 41. And I think the sign is great. And for my, I've always said, and this can't really necessarily go on the checklist, but I want to help businesses that we know that have either been here a really long time or have some longevity, because we don't want someone coming in and putting up a new sign and then 6 months later they close. And with COVID and everything, we don't know what the future holds with certain businesses. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my opinion.
I think my vantage point on it is that this facade green program was crafted after a very successful one, and I've reviewed others as well. I'm not aware of other requirements, and they could be out there that you have to have a building permit in hand. And I think if we move in that direction, we develop a reputation that was difficult to work with businesses, and that's unfortunate. I think there's a methodology in the tail end of it to require them to utilize the funds within a certain period of time, otherwise the usability for it falls off. And I think that the purpose of this commission is to bring them before us, ask questions to gauge, as Mr. Niemeyer indicated, how soon they are willing to do it, or are they just fishing? And then it's up to the good judgment of this board to say yes or no at that point. I prefer that we put a time limit on when they can use it versus adding to upfront requirements that may prevent folks from coming before us.
Yeah. And I think obviously there were some meetings that went a little longer because we had so many questions and concerns with a couple of them as well that had nothing to do with either getting permits and such. So I think this program's great, but I agree. I like the idea, like Eric said, also of making sure that there's multiple businesses that can glean from it. We can continually discuss how we're going to move forward so that all the concerns can be covered.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
From a policy standpoint, one of the things that, I understand what you're saying, that people could look at it as being difficult, but when we're a a fiscal body that's in charge of stewardship of tax dollars generated by our commercial properties in this town, I think it's prudent to ask for people to be prepared to take action. I don't think it's difficult. I understand, how this project or how this policy was crafted, but seeing that there's a commitment to do the project, whether or not funds have been approved, shows a commitment to the community that you're talking about, where it's not just something where they're saying, well, if I get this, I'm going to do it, and if not, I'm going to leave. It's one of those things where if
Well, I
there's
didn't really mean it like that. It's hard to
it.
interrupt. Okay, you know what I meant.
But-
I meant that sometimes that little extra can do something special, and maybe we can ask those who have done it, like, would you have done that sort of sign had you not had that additional? It's not a matter of, some businesses are so small. This is a very special thing to get some newer. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
So
I
like
just was thinking of that.
in government where you have limited revenue, we apply for grants and we either do a project or not because we get a grant, such as a community crossings grant for roads. Because there's sometimes where we can't fund the whole 100% of it. And if we don't get the grant, we don't do it. But there again, in order to apply for a grant that we do as a government, we have to have projects prepared and engineers' estimates of probable costs. And when we get the grant, we have to act on it in a certain time. So both of those things are present in the grants that we get as a town council. That we have to have projects ready, which includes our asset management program, to show that we have evaluated all the roads for a grant like that. And then once we are approved for the grant, we got to go. We got to have shovels in the ground and we got to move. So both of those things occur in government currently as we apply for grants on every level as a town. So I think that the same sort of expectation, while we are, doling out taxpayer money, should be expected. I don't think it's an unreasonable expectation that there's a commitment to it first before the commitment comes from the grantor. Just my opinion. Obviously, it's a policy discussion, and if we decide to amend that policy, it'll be a vote of 5 people. So this is just one man's opinion.
So let's move that to policy question 3C. And then we've got one more application this evening, application 1-3, Guard Building, Henson, Robert and Richard Henn. Gentlemen, come forward. I almost don't recognize what they had on from last time.
Well, we went on to, this is Dick Hen, 9303 West 133rd.
John Henn, 15608 Barman Street, Lowell, Indiana.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Hi.
And what you got for us?
Well, we've purchased the guard building about 6 months ago, and we've got a full set of engineered drawings. We got a civil engineer working on the site plan. We've applied for the permit, received state plan release. We're waiting for the town to issue the permit. It's all ready to go. And that kind of bends into the same thing you just said.
You're on the money.
We haven't paid a penny. We're all applied. We're just waiting for it.
Understood.
So we haven't paid a cent, so we can back out at any time. However, we're not gonna, we're deep in this already. Our original, we paid $250,000 for the site. And we got Sworn Construction Stable here. I think we're putting $387,000 in it. So we're gonna be somewhere north of $600,000 bucks. I don't know how far you guys wanna go, but on the Sworn Construction Statement, approximately 60% of this 367 is exterior. I don't know if that means anything to you or not, but that's about it.
60% of the
60% of 387. So we're ready to go. Trusses loaded, we're ready to go.
what you've got in here, Dick, is some proposed drawings as to what the exterior building is going to look like.
We got a full print here. Why don't you show it?
Did you guys get a copy of the print?
I think so, yeah. So
Okay.
massage and roof.
Right.
Any questions from the commission?
Did I miss the way the direction of this building is facing?
No, this is facing Harry O's. It's facing south.
So the frontage of the new
Right, we
proposed
have a
building
lot of-
that I'm looking at this page, this is going to
Exactly,
face
that's-
Harry O's?
It's facing south. The issue is that there's a lot more real estate on the south side.
Absolutely, because we have the
North side, we've got,
smokehouse,
yeah,
whatever that other building is behind it. Because this is
Right.
the old laundry room, just so.
Right, we've
everybody's
got about
wondering.
25 feet on the north side,
It's going to be a 3-unit commercial.
yes. 2,000 on the east side and 1,000 behind it.
And then on
Nice.
the west side, is that gonna be have just additional parking? Is that what you're planning on doing?
Yes, that's all parking.
That's all gonna be parking too?
South and west. So it looks like it's a complete facade redo and everything. huh?
Yeah, the entire place. Full building.
I do have a question
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you, maybe someone who knows this with the town. When this guard's closed, they took all the soil and because of what was in the ground from the dryers and such.
That-
You don't have to do that?
No, that was.
What was that
accomplished in-
from?
Accomplished in 94. We have a no further action letter from the item.
I see. Okay.
They hauled dirt to Indianapolis for a long time. Elmer Guard that owned the place.
Yeah,
Cost them a
I
fortune.
remember. I drove by it and I was every day. So I thought, what is going on with this
That's what
particular
happened.
thing?
They hauled it all
Okay.
down.
Yeah,
Okay.
Elmer and my grandpa were cousins.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Mhm.
I'll
Just,
tell you
just,
what,
We're all related.
it's really amazing what a going business he had before Permapress. I mean, the place was unbelievable how much business they did. But it's all different now.
They had quite a few laundromats too at one time.
Oh, yeah, he had
Yeah.
about 6 at one time. Mhm.
yeah.
So it contaminated the soil in some way that they had to pull it out?
Yeah, well, dry cleaning fluid contaminated, so they had no septic or no sewer system in the day, and they all went to septic tank.
Oh,
and-
so it was a completely different
Exactly.
scenario. I
Whole
wasn't
field
clear.
had-
I just thought it was something
It's
to do with
leaching.
it being a laundromat. I see. Okay, it's
Thank
good to
God
know.
we wouldn't have bought it if it was.
I was gonna say, that would be a lot.
Mhm.
Is there a motion from the commission?
Nice to see that change.
John, we're not looking for, in fact, I think at the meeting that I was here a couple of weeks ago, I told you that I'm not really crazy about government money, number one. Number two is, we're not looking for all this money. So that's not the point. But I think at your insistence, you suggested that I did come in and apply, and I applied.
We did.
You know the facts, that's where we're at.
Yeah, and what the point of this whole thing is not necessarily to just be giving away money, but it's investing in the future and viability of a TIP district. So it creates further investment. And the idea is to eventually create a system that's kind of sustaining itself, where through the growth of AVs, we're bringing up the whole community. So-
Well, this building on the west side of 41 will probably be the nicest building on 41. I don't think we can-
This building was one definitely that needed
Oh, it
you to
needed-
come in.
oh
It's
my,
gonna be
yes.
awesome. And I mean, it was bad shape.
Oh, just
It
look
is
at
bad
parking
shape.
below it.
It's gonna be really
you-
nice.
As you can tell by
What's
the
there
pictures.
and what he's adding at that whole
Yeah.
west side of the parking, it's, yeah, that's gonna be.
That's
a
awesome.
lot, big improvement.
In fact, we were there today, the town engineer wanted the storm sewer on the federal sewer that drains the highway. He wanted us to camera check that today. We accomplished that today. Ran a camera through and videotaped the entire sewer, so he's got a copy, so he can be sure of this good.
So what's the numbers on this again?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't do any hard numbers, but it was $367,000, the whole remodel. And I'd probably tell you, well, if you think about, it, we're doing the entire roof, we're doing all, there's $56,000 with the glass in this. And then with the doors, and then we got siding, stone, everything on the exterior. So I've just got a number of 60% of the 387, 367 would be exterior, I would assume. Really isn't much to do after that, move drywall.
I'm actually thinking I'll make a motion for 25,000.
For a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you for applying, by the way, and being ready to roll.
Thank you.
We won't hold that once again. It's-
When he said he didn't want-
Candidly, anytime you have a corridor for a town. you
I mean,
don't
applying
want
for
one
the
of first
permit.
things you see
Yeah, we're with you.
To be an eyesore.
For a
This is
building
an eyesore.
permit.
Far too long.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we're good. I appreciate it.
well, we need to, let's call for a roll call.
Jolie Kovach.
Yes.
Doug Spencer,
Yes.
Randy Niemeyer,
Yes.
Eric Burnham,
Yes.
Nathan Viss.
Yes. Gentlemen,
You are approved for $25,000.
Well, thank you.
Please coordinate with Jill's office. They're going to be leaving us here supporting Jill. And as you submit, so we
Jill's-
appreciate the investment.
Yeah, Jill's got the check in her pocket.
I'm
right
gonna
now.
get it on the way out. Yes. So you don't own them? Well, we own it for a while. Under contract.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dick, John, thank you guys.
Quick policy conversation as regards to our facade improvement program. It came up at the end of last year, of the dialogue with Rick and with Sarah. Question was raised as to whether or not we want our program to cover a not-for-profit or a municipal entity.
That's actually in your loose packet, Nathan. So under this facade grant update.
Yeah.
There should be like an email dialogue.
Yep.
That started with our fire department.
Yep.
Dialogue, and then that other item is, anything in red is items that we spoke about. And then the highlighted items are the exhibits that we wanted to discuss.
So the first question is a policy question. And that is, right now, we don't differentiate in this facade improvement program as to private business or, for lack of a better term, public business. So the question I want to raise to the attention of the RDC is, as we move forward, do we want to differentiate between the two? Or if anyone is within our corridor, whether they're public or private, they are amenable to submit an application.
So if we look at a TIP district for what it is, it's a commercial corridor that pays taxes, right? And the town captures that to use for investment in the corridor. If there's someone within it that is not a taxpayer, I don't know if it's fair to the rest of the taxpayers to dole out money to those people, not saying that they're not worthy for upgrades. But I look at what Cedar Lake has done since the establishment of the TIP district, and every year at the State House, there is new legislation that tries to tweak this thing. And a lot of it revolves around schools. And so if I look at Cedar Lake over the last 20 years, in what's been invested from the TIP district has been a lot of infrastructure, which has helped to improve the community, which has also increased the AV, which has also increased the tax collection of every taxing unit that collects property taxes. The school gets about 48% of the property taxes, school corporations. Town gets about 24%, the county about 24%. So, and the other couple percent are spread out. So when we're investing TIF dollars in people that aren't paying taxes, then that benefit of kind of bringing the whole community up isn't always realized. So that's just one man's opinion on how we invest the taxpayer money, because typically we have invested in infrastructure, which has increased the net AV of Cedar Lake since its inception by over 40%. So we've made a lot of progress in the last 20 years since this all started.
Further comments?
I have to agree with Randy on that. I can take Leo's, for example. They've probably paid a heck of a lot more money in taxes over the years than we were happen to, give back to them now. But, they pay the taxes or whatever. It'd be kind of hard for, to give a grant to a nonprofit organization that hasn't, contributed into our taxes.
And looking at those ratios, outfit like Leo's or what Hen & Sons is doing there, or what Mr. Perfetti is doing, has a benefit to the school corporation as well because of that higher net AV. So those are all things that make a difference to the whole community. When you bring up a net AV, and Jolie can talk about that from a trending standpoint as it relates to assessments, you start to bring up other surrounding buildings that might not be in the commercial TIP district, that then the other entities have an opportunity to collect more taxes.
Yeah, because right now the AV on the old guards building is 150,000 and he's bringing it up to a valuation of about 600,000. So right there, he's already paying, his future is, it's all
And
comes
all the
around.
surrounding properties,
And then a
residential
3%
and commercial,
cap.
start to come up.
3% of 600,000, right there, a year.
And that so the school corporation would still collect taxes on the money before the increment, correct?
Yes, and the residential will flatten,
Right.
which is beneficial to our residents while.
But it still creates more space under the tax cap then for every entity within the, that taxes under the circuit breaker to tax. So as we increase our commercial values, our residential tax rates drop, which creates more space for taxation. That's just how the equation works in the state of Indiana.
So for discussion purposes, one of the other purposes for a redevelopment commission is to improve blighted areas. The law doesn't differentiate, as I understand it, between for-profit and not-for-profit.
Right.
So I think what we're discussing is policy development, not development, but clarification, to say, well, they're all important. Perhaps with the minimal dollars that we have to spend at the present time, we'd like to clarify it to the for-profit entities.
Would that also reduce the 2% cap on agricultural and rental units? Or
Yeah, whenever you bring up that top AV, Bob, the other ones start to relieve pressure.
on both of those?
Right, so you gain more space under the circuit breaker. But that's every taxing entity under the circuit breaker gains that space. So it's not just a town or a library or a township, it's anybody who's taxing and collecting money off of property taxes, while a school corporation doesn't get that increment, that difference between 150 and 600,000, we're taxing on that and collecting that. But if we reinvest it properly, it can bring up everything and lower tax rates, which then creates more ability for funds to be generated.
What's the pleasure of the commission? Is this a clarification we want to make with the existing? Is there a motion we made? Do we want to discuss it, think on it for next meeting?
Nathan, I think that something like this needs to be really vetted. I'm in favor of sticking with, tax-paying entities, but I think we also have to look at how much authority we have within the home rule part of this, of whether or not we can differentiate that, since the TIF law may not differentiate as it relates to what is blighted and not blighted and other things. So
If the statute's silent, then it's permissible
Okay.
for decision to be made. And I agree with Nathan, the statute is silent in terms of differentiating those character.
so that gives us
entities
the
owning property.
ability to make that call then.
You do have that local home rule benefits of that statute.
The alternative too is we don't have to make a decision. As we've been growing and developing here, we continue to make decisions on a case-by-case basis. That can be part of it as well.
I think we do need to do a little policy tweaking, as we've had discussions here tonight. There's opportunities here for us to clean up and be a little more clear. And this is one of those areas where clarification is good. And that way everybody knows what to expect.
Is there a pressing need for a determination by the commission tonight? Or is this an ongoing, and will it be fluid dialogue in the case-by-case basis?
I suppose there would be a pressing need if somebody applied for next month to
Or
clarify.
not.
All
Or
right.
not.
Yeah, an inquiry was made at the end of the year as to this question.
That would be the fire department inquiry.
Correct.
That's a really bad inquiry, but in any event, because it puts a lot of pressure on you all.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of that.
I'd like to recommend that the dialogue continue, of course. This is a evaluative process. But the General Assembly, as Randy indicated, is always tweaking and twisting and fine tuning this particular law.
It's a gentleman from Jeffersonville that introduces it every year.
And this year, the town has engaged lobbyists, and we're paying even more attention to what's going on in Indianapolis, particularly related to what some of the initiatives are here with redevelopment and the town council. So we've got a couple months, perhaps continuing the dialogue would be fruitful and kind of fulfilling to an end determination of policy adjustment.
What's the commission's thoughts if I spend the next 30 days with Dave and I do a little bit of proposed redlining on these two topics that we've been discussing tonight? One, trying to create more of a prepared applicant for
accelerating, putting the dollars to work, that being the theme. So I think that's the general theme that I've captured tonight is how can we put these dollars with a hammer and a.
That's what every other government entity that grants money to anyone requires. In my personal business, I received an IDEM grant several years ago to upgrade some of my older trucks with technology that would reduce emissions. And it required me to have a plan in place and money spent within a certain time period. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I wouldn't qualify for the grant if I didn't. And I executed it, and then I had to file reports to follow up to show the results. So it's no different than anything else, as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. President,
Go ahead, Mr. Everly.
if I may, this was an inquiry from the fire chief as to whether they could apply for this grant. And my initial response to him was much the same as what Randy said earlier, that I felt that this facade improvement program was really supposed to be self-sustaining. As Randy said, you issue the grant, someone makes an improvement to their building, it increases the assessed valuation, generates more taxes. This is a self-sustaining program. And if you as an RDC started giving money out to tax exempt entities, you could run out of money to support the program pretty quickly. So I think, and I agree with David, I don't believe there's anything in the statute that prevents you from including tax exempt entities or just excluding them. And although I'd love to help our fire department, I just don't think that this program is intended to help tax exempt entities. But we need a clarification of it. So if a church came to us, the library came to us, any other tax exempt entity came to you and asked for this same thing, we need to be able to tell them it's either yes or no. And I do think it's a pretty simple matter of the commission adopting the policy and perhaps putting a little more clarity in the language of the existing program that it simply doesn't apply to tax exempt entities.
Well said, Rick. It's on the money. We have a tax rate for our cumulative capital development fund, which is the money that we use to invest in things like a fire department. So we're already taxing for that. So then we would be taking additional money that's being paid in by private business to pay for something public that we're already taxing the private business for. So that's a double dipping thing to me.
Right. And Mr. President, the fire department, I believe, has roughly $100,000 at its disposal for some improvements to the building. And they do intend to spend that money, but I guess what I'm trying to say is there is a little bit of time is of the essence here. They're waiting for an answer from the RDC, I think, before they go forward with whatever improvements they might be planning. So just some clarity and whether this applies to tax exempt entities is really all we're looking for.
Is the tail wagging the dog on this?
I knew you were going to ask that question.
Here's my.
It's public safety. It's out of the general fund. Police, fire departments are funded by taxpayer dollars
If
already.
the statute allows for us to decipher between private and public, I'm in agreement with private only. So that'll be my future stance if it's the legal thing that we can. If it's
On a case-by-case basis, if something comes in here, Boys and Girls Club or
I love this community.
one of our civic organizations, tax exempt, you can take it up then, for sure.
Yeah, I think the intention when we started this years ago was that it was for ongoing viable commercial premises.
Right.
Side business.
Right. My hometown mom and pop kind of gal.
There you go.
Right on. So,
$100,000 can get that building pretty nice, I'm thinking. Oh.
but it's a good question, so I appreciate staff raising that to our level. And I guess I think I got a good temperature where we're headed here. So Dave, you and I can work the next 30 days to get some
executive meeting if we need to.
Yeah.
Executive session.
A couple other items that were raised, I think these are more Scrivener changes. Document exhibits, number one is, we had reference that there would be an employment eligibility verification. I think we need to swap that out instead with a TIF map, which just references where our TIF district is for purposes of the facade grant program. That's A, B, and then as well as C, referencing the map again. Did I get that correct, Sarah? Okay. Was everyone okay with that Scrivener change to just the minor cleanups that are referenced in item 2, document exhibits? An email between Sarah, myself, and Mr. Everly back on Wednesday, December 23. Just a couple of cleanup items that are referenced there in
Okay.
A, B, and C.
Okay.
Got it, A, B, C.
All right, good. Thank you both to Rick and to Sarah for that assistance as we develop this
Nice job,
program.
Sarah. Nice job.
Next project updates, clerk treasurer
Wait.
fund report.
There's a tiny one in there.
There's,
Item
this
C.
one.
The sustainability plan. Rick wanted to talk about that. I was afraid without sticking a space in there, it might get missed.
Okay, what was
So
that?
it-
Go ahead, Rick. You had something else?
Well, the sustainability plan is something we're working on with the OW Crone financial advising firm. We just talked about that at the last council meeting, but they're looking at a program to, as it says, for financial sustainability. But one of the things we're looking at is how are we going to be funding a variety of projects, including the Lake Eco Restoration Project and several road projects. And as part of that analysis, we're going to be looking at TIF funds, TIF revenues, and just wanted to let you know that that process is ongoing. And it's actually, I think, going to progress a little quicker than I thought it would. I've had an initial meeting with those folks and specifically Corby Thompson. But I expect to have another meeting with Corby a week from Thursday with department heads. And I think we're going to have some good numbers coming out of that meeting that I'll be able to report back to the Redevelopment Commission and the Town Council with. I just wanted you to be aware of the sustainability plan that we're working on with those folks.
Okay, Rick, is that a plan or a cost that the council's going to be looking to the RDC to help contribute towards?
Nathan, could I ask you to either, I'm having a real hard time hearing you. I don't know if your mic is not on or if it's just not close enough to you. I'm hearing everybody else.
Oh, that one. I'm technologically illiterate. Sorry, Rick.
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Even though I'm at the early stages of being a millennial.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Where are those?
barely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we just heard from Mr. Niemeyer that he's went green, so that was a new revelation for me.
I didn't quite go green, but I've made some improvements.
No, it's all good.
I care about the planet.
No, my question, Rick, was, is this a cost that the town council is going to be looking at the RDC to help contribute towards? Or is
For the sustainability plan? No, I don't believe so. I mean, Randy can speak to that. I think the council's paying for the cost of this sustainability plan. I just wanted you to be aware that they're going to be looking at the town's complete financial picture to help us determine how we can function more efficiently financially, what kinds of projects we can afford to pay for, and how we can pay for those. So,
Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This all started last January. I had passed around to the council a set of kind of strategic objectives. One of them was we've never as a town approached like a business and really evaluated all of our revenue streams, looked at certain growth factors, and tried to put together a plan based on all the different revenue streams of the town on how we can reach some of those goals that we have and some of the needs that a growing community has. and where certain tax collections might take the place of certain miscellaneous revenues. And in some of the larger projects, like Rick mentioned, how do you fund an ecosystem restoration of Cedar Lake? And what are some of those benefits that would occur from that? We don't have a financial picture and really a financial roadmap that we act on. We have a strategic plan, but not a financial strategic plan, which is what this would be. This would really help us and help the clerk treasurer's office too, as we formulate budgets, to be able to guide us towards the results that we desire, rather than reacting to each year as it comes. We're responding to the needs by being careful and planned out and thought out. So that's what the sustainability plan really is. It's trying to put together a 5-year picture and manage our behavior by that plan.
Okay. No, I think that's good. To have a 5-10-year plan and know what income revenue streams change 15-20% one way or the other, what your ability to adapt is. That's huge.
Yeah, if we don't have something like that, we're bound to be victims of our own lack of planning. So, we've been in the position where we've had to borrow from ourselves to pay bills to start a year, and we're not doing that anymore. But if the growth stops and there's an economic collapse, what happens to our cash balances? How do we sustain certain levels of services? What are our other revenue streams? What kind of flexibility can we have to operate our business?
Good. No, commend the town council for that. Appreciate it. Any questions from the commission for Mr. Everly or Rick or Randy on that front? Okay. All right, now we'll go to project updates. Clerk treasurer's funds report.
Commission members, I gave you 2 reports in your packet. So I kind of gave a 2020 review. That report is in your packet. That's actually the second report. It'll show in the upper right hand corner, 2020 annual review fund. So that activity looks pretty similar to the report I gave you in December, except for, if you'll notice, I added in what your false settlement to the TIF was, and I was absolutely shocked with your false settlement. The TIF received just over $570,000, which is pretty fantastic for a false settlement, but with the unknowns of the pandemic, was not expecting anywhere near that. So kudos to all the taxpayers for getting all that in on time.
We have a great community.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
So the fund ended with an amazing cash balance, just over $1.1 million. That is what you are starting your year with. So if you go to your second report, very basic because we're only in January. I listed out for you the primary projects that I know of. I'm sure we'll be fine tuning that as we go on with the year. We have a couple of small remaining costs as it relates to the roundabout project, the community crossing 2020-1, the Hot in Place project. We probably have some more engineering that'll be rolling in. We know that 133rd and King will be happening this year. And then the facade grant program from 2020, we have approximately $45,000 from last year that we have not yet paid out. And then, as I understood it, you all wanted to allocate another $100,000 for 2021. And then your bond obligations. Now, on that note, with the bond obligations, as you can see, I have what the anticipated monthly debt transfers are there. I anticipate that number. I will be fine tuning that. I'm working with Sue Hayes. We're looking at the 2017 redevelopment bonds. I do believe that fund is actually slightly overfunded. So I will be adjusting the monthly transfers, which will actually keep a little bit more cash in Fund 804 for you, and it, will be at your disposal for whatever projects. So as we fine tune things, we'll update the report accordingly, or as we decide on road projects for the year, or what else the commission decides upon.
Very good. Any questions for our clerk treasurer?
What, for Sarah, sorry. So of our rolling remaining balance of 45,120 and the pending projects, I know you gave it here somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So where
It's on
people
the
are at the
spreadsheet.
end of their, yeah,
Those are the 3 individuals that are left.
that are left. Okay.
Al Bundy
And that
Eric
total,
Linda Mulder have not applied for a permit yet. Mr. Hoffman has had some issues with completing his project in the proper manner with the building department, so there's been a holdup with that. His is coming due to expire February 18th, so I'll be sending him a notice that if he doesn't have it completed by then, that he'll have to apply for an extension.
okay. So basically by February and March, we have the 2 remaining, and then we
Correct.
can roll that in with our 21.
It's up to us.
Okay.
This is just not
Okay.
for numbers.
I'm just curious. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep, go ahead.
Looking at this fund report, and again, following legislation like I do, one of the important things for communities that do have TIF districts that are growing like ours is to not sit on cash. The idea is to have a list of projects that you're working through and certain benchmarks that you need to reach so that money is benefiting the community as a whole. So we've kicked around this lake eco restoration thing for 20 plus years, and we're getting to the point now where we might actually have a real project. I think we need to weigh that within these balances and the future of the TIF district, as well as some of the needs within the commercial corridor, which includes looking at that first phase of 133rd that was done back in 2007, 2008 is crumbling. Not saying that the subgrade needs any work, but it's going to need to be repaved. That commercial corridor and entrance into our community. So there are projects like that, but I think we need to sit down with our staff, with Rick and Jennifer and Jill, and establish kind of a capital plan for the TIF district, and include in that the lake eco restoration as part of that plan. So we have a certain idea of how we're going to steer the next 10 years of this TIF district in investing money that benefits the community, because we've done a lot in the last 20 years, and since the consolidation, 10 years ago, we've done even more. And now we've got to put our foot to it again to utilize what's there while the district is still in existence, because they do have a sunset period as well.
I appreciate that comment. We've got a lot of projects in the works that haven't come to fruition yet, but that are being discussed in exec session as well. But Rick, Mr. Everly, would it be possible in the next 30 to 45 days to meet with staff heads and come up with a list as to capital needs that are located within the RDC TIF district? And then in addition to a list of needs, assess with them as to when they would need to be implemented on a 1 to 10 year schedule? I think
we can certainly do that, Nathan. In fact, we started that process. We had a meeting, Jill and Jen and Jill, Don and I sat down and went through a list of projects, including the costs, and trying to figure out when we could afford to construct some of these things. These were mainly road projects, but keeping the lake eco restoration project in mind as well. But this work that OW Crone is doing for us is going to help us, I think, tremendously identify what our revenue sources are and how we can implement these improvements and in what kind of a timeline. So yeah, absolutely, Nathan, we can do that in the next 30 to 45 days and report back to you.
Yes, Doug. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate that. All right, any other questions for Jen? Jen, thank you much for your work. Dave, we'll move on to B. Hood, loss of damages. Any update there?
Yes, we did communicate at the beginning of this month with the attorney for Mr. Hood. We have information coming to us on or before February 1st related to the Indianapolis IDEM processing that only the property owner can make for the ELTF, the reimbursement. So I'm going to have a better report next month, but we're still in dialogue. There's frequent communications going on.
Okay. Any questions from the commission on that? None. Industrial park property roadway, any updates that you can give to us that are not in executive session, Dave?
None.
All right. I guess, well, I won't be working with Sarah next month, but we'll make a note to do an exec session next month on that couple of topics. Facade grants, Sarah, you have provided for us an update. We've got 3 folks left from last year. We've got Sportsman's Den that we gave an extension through June 1 with. We've got issues with Ian Hoffman DDS, and then we've got until March 2021 for Legacy Insurance Group, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. We'll continue to keep an eye on those as to whether or not we want to give an extension if they do come back or not, and then see if we can free up those dollars. So I think just to clarify, Jolie, my understanding, the way that we've set it up is we apportion 100,000 set aside per year. If it's not used up in that year, we'll have to decide, do we want to add it to that year's 100,000 and increase it, or do we just want to roll it to our general budget? So, but we don't have a standing rule that we've created that says it has to stay and be used for facade grant. Randy, marketing of Explore Everyday recipients, anything new on that?
No update.
Okay. Sarah or Jill or Rick, anything on light pole banners?
Not for this month, Mr. President.
I did observe, it was in the Northern Indiana Times last week, there was another local municipality that just received some publicity for implementing that. It may have been Crete, I think, but someone local did the same thing. Future items, is there any suggestions, comments from anyone on Lincoln Plaza signage, high school crosswalk, JMA Gateway, or hill stability? Hearing none. What I'm envisioning.
One comment, Lincoln Plaza signage. So this came up several years ago, and it's normally not the commission that would put up a sign for a plaza. However, the reason that that's on there is because when that phase of 133rd Avenue was done, the signage was taken down. So that's why it's on there. And I do think it's still something we need to follow through on, because it was one of our projects that took it down, and there's never been a proper replacement of it since then. So there is some signage for businesses there, but not a plaza sign, you know, so that's why it's there.
My suggestion with these 4 items is that we have a kind of a development meeting, a conversation perhaps in the next 2 months, to once we get Mr. Everly's list for the town, that we sit down with some town officials, and we sit down as a group, and we kind of brainstorm perhaps in late March as to what our goals in 2021 moving forward, kind of develop a 5-year plan from the RDC. So my suggestion, then we can transition some of these future items onto that list.
Okay.
So,
That's a good idea.
Sarah, if you can move to, well, I'll
Yes, I
make a
will.
note.
I will.
Okay, so for March, let's plan it on a plan session.
I will add it to your March agenda.
Thank you, ma'am. Anything else from the commission on project updates? Before we bring this meeting to a close, I want to issue a special thanks to Sarah. Sarah, I greatly appreciate, for those of you who don't know, Sarah is transitioning over to the police side of things. So she will no longer be on the administrative side to the town manager. But I want to extend, it's the last meeting, but I want to extend a special thanks to you for your hard work over the last months. Has it been even a year?
It's been 2.
It's been 2 years. It has flown by.
Yes.
It's only Monday, Biz. You have been invaluable to the Redevelopment Commission, I'm sure to others within the town. So
Thank you
very much. Congratulations on your new role. You are welcome to help us out at any time if ever you get bored, but I don't think you will be.
Sounds good. Yeah, I appreciate all you guys. I really have enjoyed working with all of you. I hope to see all of you. Maybe not
Yeah, I
at
don't
the
want to
police
see you all.
department, but unless if it's maybe for a golf cart permit or something.
I still remember your first meeting. We had a conversation out there afterwards.
We
and
did.
You were like blown away at all the information and all the stuff that's going
Yeah.
on. And so, yeah, you've grown a lot in the last couple of years, and I look forward to seeing what your contributions are going to be in your next role. So
Thank you very
congratulations.
much.
Good
I can
luck. Best
honestly
wishes.
say of all the meetings I've attended, this is my favorite one. So I will sincerely miss
That's
this
just
one.
because she hasn't come to town council meetings.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
We do have,
Matt,
yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank all of you for carrying the ball for the town, for the redevelopment commission. I stood here 20 plus years ago. Bob Carnahan sat in that chair or thereabouts. And your predecessors, who were the initial appointees to the redevelopment commission, started, didn't have a pot to pee in, not a dollar in the bank, not anything but great enthusiasm and love for the community and a willingness to serve. They borrowed money before they had any money. They borrowed money on a bond anticipation note to do the engineering. Just the engineering that caused 133rd Avenue to be expanded and opened and built in 2007, 2008. And they had no idea. We were on a wing and a prayer on the street. So from those humble beginnings to now, and everybody in between, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for how you're doing it. Thank you for caring about the community you do it. There's a lot more to do. And this, you're not at the finish line by a long shot, but we got the ball going down the path. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Dave. No, I think we've got some exciting new momentum. I think it's a good problem to have when you have money in the bank, but I think we all know there's a lot of projects out there and we can quickly put that to work. So let's use the next 60 days for due diligence on what those needs are.
Stewardship. It'll all fall in place.
Yep.
With the right approach.
We did receive communication from the Hanover Community School Corporation. Again, a warm welcome to Tracy Haskell. Normally, we don't go this long. Is there anything that you want to communicate to us on behalf of the school?
Well, like I said, I'm only 2 weeks into this, so as of right now, can't really give you too much update. Hopefully down the road, yeah.
Okay.
We got big projects going.
Sounds good.
You do?
A little bit.
Huh?
All right, thank you. Any comments from the public? Thank you for attending this evening. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.